somewhere, and in the course of doing what I went to do, I had a flat battery to the point that my phone was almost switched off. So for like 2 hours, I didn't have access to the internet. And finally, when I got home around 6:30 p.m. and got reconnected to internet and then powered my phone, lo and behold, the social media space was on fire. Why was it on fire? Because of what happened in Anambra State. Though it happened in July, but the video surfaced yesterday, and we saw how a core member was assaulted by operatives of Agone Chamber by Demlisa local government of Anambra State. And since then, to this very morning, it's been raging. And guess what? Yesterday, about 4 government functionaries in Anambra State reacted to that, telling you the gravity of what happened. Even the wife of the governor also spoke about it, condemning what happened. But I have always maintained that after the condemnation, what happens?
For the condemnation, what happens? We'll take a deep dive into all of those matters when we get into the conversation proper. But for now, let's see what the front pages of the papers say. On the Nation newspaper, banner headline here: governors move to attract more foreign direct investments. Africa's business interest steadily growing. NGF unveils Investopedia. You'd find this story on page 2. All right. Nigeria to demand reform of global financial system. The rider: we are in Japan to see opportunities. Right. On page 2 as well. Ogun APC suspends Senator Daniel. On page 3. NCAA invites a bomb air crew. Eman on page 27. Edun Cardoso meets to strengthen fiscal monetary policies synergy. FIRS CEO in attendance. On page 2 as well. 4 more internet fraudsters arrested at Obasanjo Presidential Library convicted. On page 5. Probe of 661 million naira court. Probe of 661 million naira. Court freezes ex-NNPCL boss carries account. On page 4. Our Catholic Church attackers linked to foreign terror group. On page 4 as well. Alafi versus Oni. Who blinks first in Royal Rumble? Find this story on page 5 of the Nation newspaper. Before we go into the next paper, Tony Olisa Mbeki is here with us. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning, Chisom. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, the good people of Southeast. Good morning, the Anambra, the Onitsha. Good morning, everyone under the reach of our voice. So it's a pleasure to be here.
All right then, Franklin.
Yes, this very story about Alafin and the Oni over who has the power to confer a certain title on some persons. I keep on wondering, why do we always have this kind of thing? Is there no clear-cut responsibilities of these very traditional rulers? And then let's get over to the Vanguard newspaper. See the headlines. The banner headline says U.S. report raises concerns over security justice in Nigeria. You can see the story on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. It has several writers, and one of them says identifies lengthy pre-trial detention delays as major challenges. Note 70,000 minimum wage has lost value to falling naira. U.S. government praised us for arresting Ansaru leaders in just recently. That's presidency saying so. And then the last writer says issues with the judiciary, security, naira being addressed. Then another story here says we recorded 331,035 cases of right violations, 375 killings in July. NHROC, that's National Human Rights Commission, giving that report. The story is on page 6 of the Vanguard newspaper. Above the nameplate, Edun Cardoso strengthen fiscal monetary partnership. Check page 19 of Vanguard newspaper. 2027, Amechi's president should be dead on arrival. Wike, he was on national TV yesterday where, he talked about lots of things, including how his camp is going to meet today to, state their own stance on the proposed national convention of the PDP. He also talked about Amechi, not being a man of his word. He said, how can Amechi be promising that he's going to fight corruption under one month, while under his watch that corruption thrived? And he gave out some figures to buttress his point. Then NBA writes AGF demands release of Russian local government funds. Check page 10 of Vanguard newspaper. Bandits kill 13 worshippers in Castina Mosque. The story is on page 26. This very story is quite pathetic because from the story, people of Castina, that's one particular village in Castina, people, they mobilized and decided to lay ambush for these very bandits. And during the ambush, they were able to kill some of them, rescue some of the kidnapped victims, and also recovered a couple of stolen motorcycles and even 2 AK-47 rifles. But guess what? These very bandits now mobilized and went to, mosque in reprisal and killed lots of people. Then NCAA summons Ibon Air cabin crew in Manson for further investigation. Page 9. Somebody might want to ask, this very summon, to what use would the end be if the federal government waded in and said that everything had been resolved? Alaafin's ultimatum, empty threat from a dead empire. That's on page 10. This is a very strong one, and I'm looking at the headline. And the person who said so is Oni's spokesman. And then, our Catholic Church attackers had links with foreign terrorist group DSS tells court. The story is on page 8. I think they were arraigned about 4 days ago, 3 days ago. And their trial is going to resume very soon. Abuja court freezes 4 bank accounts linked to ex-NNPCL boss Kiari. The story is on page 6. He's been tried for alleged diversion of public funds to the tune of about 670 million naira. And his 4 bank accounts, 4 bank accounts linked to one particular bank, were frozen by the court. Vision restored, how Vanguard is changing lives. The story is on page 7. You can get yourself a copy and then be updated on these very stories.
All right, then let's go over to the next paper on our desk, which would be the Punch newspaper. A banner headline, Capital Projects crumble as states cut spending. You'd find that on page 2. The riders, governor citing security red tape for 2.7 trillion naira capital spending in 6 months amid rising travel wage bills. Yoruba elders weighed in as Alaafin Oni's feud escalates on page 2. 2027 showdown. Wike fires shots at Amechi Babachir Lawal trashes ADC on page 30. Oh well, Wike is insistent on, if you couldn't do something then, why do you think you can actually do something now? RMAFC faces backlash of a pay rise for political office holders on page 2. Court blocks ex-NNPCL boss accounts amid EFCC probe on page 3. Interesting. Carry. It's been a long time coming. 36 governors unite to woo foreign investors via new platform on page 17. Have they put their houses in order? Or would your house be on fire? And my brothers, you are chasing rats.
I got them, man.
ex-NNPCL spokesman converses tax relief for media houses on page 30. Our church attackers have ties to Al-Shabaab, the DSS has that to say on page 7. By-election winners get certificates of return Thursday. INEC on page 9.
And from that very story, yesterday, INEC National Commissioner in charge of voter education, he released a statement yesterday. And in that statement, he announced that Brighton of Labour Party won the Enugu Rerun election. I know on this platform, I talked about the how that Rerun couldn't hold because of disturbances and then disagreements. So if INEC made a return based on the result of the first election, I cannot say. Then let's go over to the Ghana newspaper and look at the headlines. The banner headline here says, floods, lack of potable water worsen cholera epidemic in 34 states. That's on page 6. This is a concerning story because if you have 34 states suffering from cholera outbreak because of the flood, of course, many lives are at risk. The PDP convention, Wike's camp meets today to take position. Check page 3 of the Ghana newspaper. NCAA revises phone regulations on domestic flight. The story is on page 3. NCAA is now saying that once you're on board any flight, you must switch off your phone before takeoff and landing. That is no longer the issue of whether you want to put it on flight mode or not. And they are asking airline operators for them to revise their regulations and ensure that the regulations conform with this very new directive. NBA Monarchs urged Tinubu to intervene in withheld or shown local government funds. Check page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. ASU braces for strike as protest rocks branches is on page 2. A circle for 172 million subscribers as Tinubu cancels plan 5% telecom tax. Check page 5 or rather 6 of the Guardian newspaper. 60% of public school teachers lack basic digital skills, says UBEC. And my question is, who taught them? Were they in any way, trained in this very skill? The story is on page 4. Or what church invaders had links with foreign terrorist groups, DSA tells court. The story is on page 5. And if they have link to Al-Shabaab, of course, that means we're in a precarious situation that we need to be able to handle. Nigeria's minimum wage insufficient to lift citizens out of poverty. Check page 2 of that same Guardian newspaper. Mixed reactions to early implementation of dialysis subsidy months after approval is on page 4. And this one says MPA spot $2 billion funding gap as investor our party stalls deep sea port drive. Is on page 15 of Guardian newspaper. And that brings to an end the headlines we have this very morning from the front pages of various newspapers. Don't forget that we're live on Facebook page, Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Just get to this very page and then join us in this very conversation. You can share your thoughts on any of the issues that have arisen from these very headlines, and by the time we begin our analysis proper, don't forget to like that page and continue to share the video.
All right, then we are proceeding to start to deal with the matters we have on our table this morning. And first on our list would be the incident that broke yesterday. I mean, speaking about the video that we all got to eventually see yesterday. The Punch reports that a assaulted corps member, vigilantes operated outside code of conduct. That's coming from Commissioner of Information, Lord Mefo. The Anambra State government has strongly condemned the act of violence and harassment on a female corps member serving in Oba, Idemili North local government area of the state by operatives of the state's vigilante group known as Udogachi. Lord Mefo said all those involved, particularly in the incident under reference, will face the full wrath of the law. Also reassured the public of particularly youth corps members in the state that they have nothing to fear from the state security outfits Agune Chimba and Operation Udogachi, and should go about their lawful activities without fear. And now this video broke yesterday. I'm pretty sure most of us have seen it. The said corps member, a chubby fair lady, I'll call her above average height, was seen being dragged. As a matter of fact, what I saw her wearing is more or less a nightwear. Now, according to what the Homeland Security boss, I'm trying to... Kenemakai said yesterday, while he was being interviewed, he said the security operatives were hunting a group of cultists who ran into a street and eventually ran into the said compound and vanished into different rooms. So they started conducting a search by telling all occupants to come out so they can identify the people they were pursuing. And in the process, the said lady came out and a misunderstanding ensued. And from what we saw in that video, she was supposedly in her comfort zone at home, wearing a nightwear. And when the whole back and forth started, someone tore at her nightwear, tore it into shreds. Another person kept tugging at it with, like, the focus was on stripping her naked. Now, it brought about a lot of outrage. Also, not forgetting to mention that when that was being done, she was also being beaten by different men. They've talked, we've all seen reactions from the Anambra State government about how their action was outside of the code of conduct. But we've also seen these men act outside the code of conduct over and over and over again since their constitution on the 18th of January. Column is surprised. Olomefo is saying they are going to be punished. I saw a report this morning from a stakeholder of the ruling party that this happened in June, I think on June 25th. Was it June or July 25th? That's
July.
That statement said it happened on the 25th of July, and the persons who did that have been dismissed, and that the girl and her family refused to sue these operatives. they decided to just settle and let it go as long as that video doesn't get leaked. But the persons who did this have been dismissed from the Agune Chamber security group. So, Tony, a lot of questions this morning. The question of whether what they did is right or wrong is not to be on the table, because wrong is wrong. What they did is wrong by all standards. A few days ago, we had the issue of Emerson, who was being dragged out of an airplane. And we said, we all agreed by all standards that the manner at which you handle anybody is very important, because we are all presumed innocent until proven guilty by a court of law. Now, the question now is, why do we keep having this repeated errant behaviors by these people? This is just an instance. We've had many more in the past. Again, I'd like to know, where do we really stand on the point that they have been punished? And is dismissing them from Agune Chamber enough punishment? Also, like I said, where do we stand? On the part that they've been punished, on the part that they will be punished?
I think was actually trending throughout yesterday, and there have been a lot of comments, and I have been very, very careful to peruse all the comments. And I was also aware that during the early morning program today on Udala FM, Biri Kambiri, it was the subject, and many people ventilated their thoughts and what they think about the whole thing. But in all honesty, the actions of that very, very group, the Agune Chamber group, because that's the vigilante arm of the Operation Udogachi, totally condemnable. Nobody in his senses would justify that, no matter what. I got calls, I got text messages, and I got some even follow-up on social media about this, and people were busy asking me, Tony, what do you think about this? What's here? I don't know why they want to know what I would say, and I kept on saying it is condemnable. I cannot justify evil. Evil is evil. Evil is evil. Wrong is wrong. You've just said it. And let me say this: anything that got to the level of tearing somebody's clothes and the person becomes naked, that act alone is man inhumanity against man. Even if, because it's a case of jungle justice. That's exactly what they meted out on that very girl. Most times we have also preached against jungle justice on this very platform. And the very vigilante outfit, I'm happy that the government has condemned it. The First Lady of Anambra State has condemned it. The Special Advisor to the Governor on Community Security has condemned it. But it cannot stop at condemnation. That's where I'm coming from. It cannot just stop at condemnation. We are told that those people have been dismissed, or the team involved. You said here that it happened sometime around July 25th, 2025. The report also have, because I also did my own personal investigation, and I discovered that this incident in view, or this incident in quotes, happened sometime around 23rd of July 2025.
Some say 25th of July.
My own investigation tells me it was 23rd. So from the time in view, the young woman Jennifer Edema Elaho, that's her name, and that name sounds more like a Delta name, either Ichikiri or Isoko, because I've been there, I've lived that kind of, and I've lived there. So that name is Eloho is a popular surname in that area. So looking around how she was dragged from her lodge, stripped naked, beaten severely, and left bleeding. And even when we are told that she and her colleagues had produced their NYC ID cards and uniforms, but they were still accused of being internet fraudsters or harboring them. The attack included sexually degrading threats and was carried out by these armed operatives, and some of whom attempted to even shoot her. This morning, while I was coming here, I saw a video of police brutality. This one happened in River State, where a man who had his car tinted was asked to part with 1 million. In fact, the man made a video. I listened to him, though we've not heard from the other angle. And in that video was saying that those who arrested him asked him to drop 1 meter. And he was curious to ask, what is 1 meter? You mean 1 meter of
petrol,
or 1 meter of this, or 1 meter? They say 1 million. So I don't even know that the slogan has changed. We are still here. The slogan has changed.
It's a Malian slogan.
I don't know. 1 meter means 1 million. So when he asked what had he committed, he was asked that his tinted permit has expired, and then he has to offer 1 meter to redeem the expired tinted permit. And he was trying to relate with them as, bro, I be happy kid, I be this, I be that. Before he started to make call to see if a friend would support him with money, he offered him 20,000. According to the video I was watching this morning, he offered him 20,000. And in offering that 20,000, what happened? They started beating him. That he was making call, he wants to video them. And before you know it, they beat him to stupor. And he had bandages all over his head. And if you know it, and then they thought he was dead. They even handcuffed the brother and then left with his vehicle and pushed the brother out of the vehicle with even the handcuff. See, these are the people we have on our roads, in our streets. It's everywhere. And I can also tell you that this incident, we've seen this incident across the country. And I can also quite tell you that there was a time, I think in Niger State, there was a similar incident in Niger State. There was a similar incident in River State. There was also a similar incident in Edo State. But the point remains that this would not end up in condemnation. These people should be sentenced. That is my own view. This issue of trying to settle it outside the court, for me, the parties may agree whatever they want, but it is not in the interest of the society. It is not. Yes, we are told that they have been dismissed. Dismissal is not enough.
So
dismissal is not enough. They should be committed to prison.
Can I come in here, because this issue of that they have been dismissed, I have a concern about it. I believe it with a pinch of salt. Why? Yesterday I read the account of the Commissioner for Information in Anambra State, Dr. Lomefo. I also read the account of Kenemakayi, who is the special advisor to the governor on community security. I read what the wife of the governor said about that same incident. I read the statements of the police, and all of them were not in uniform that they have been dismissed.
They asked him earlier.
So we only read from one account that they have been dismissed, but all of them were in consonance that they have been identified and they are under interrogation.
They sounded like this was even something that happened yesterday. Like they never knew it happened.
Exactly. Now, another thing is this. This thing happened in July, and we got to know about the action being taken because a video surfaced on the internet, and there was this very outrage. Now, I want to start from somewhere so that we can get to where I'm going, because what actually happened, or what we saw in that very video, is just like one out of several other cases that we have recorded. Now, we cannot rule out the fact that Agri Chamber was conceived with a good intention to help us to deal with the insecurity in Anambra State. And within 2 weeks of each inauguration, we saw results. Anybody who lives in Anambra State or even beyond can testify to that was a result. In fact, yesterday, when I was going to Accra from a community in Idemili North. I was with about 4 persons in a vehicle. And when we got to Oyagabagana. That was around 5:30. We saw operatives of Dogachi on the road, mounting roadblock, and at the same time, asking for all this small money. But there was this very discussion that started in that very vehicle. People were saying, that these guys that they have helped to bring some level of sanity, that this is that very community policing or state policing that some governors had been asking for. That if they can be reformed in a better way, that they can help us to deal with insecurity. That tells you that people were able to recognize that they helped us to some reasonable extent to deal with insecurity. But that does not mean that we have not seen the excesses of these very people. On this platform, I talked about how these operatives have turned themselves into money collecting points on the road. If the military, the police, or if the army and the police, they stay on the road, collect Igunje and nothing happens. Of course, they can also collect their own and nothing happens. Go to Enugu axis of the old Enugu Onitsha road. Around that area, between where Dozie Nwankwo has his employment office and the local government, you see that these operatives of Agune Chamber, they now the police not so pit. Police know in the afternoon, they say in the evening. What do? We like the fact that you can mount road block, or rather you can mount road check, so that you'll be able to detect insecurity. But when you now turn these very checks into extortion point, that becomes a concern. So there are several concerns. I can also recall a video that Harrison Gwanishu posted, where a certain guy was duped of a certain amount of money in Oka, and from the video that a member of Udogachi was used to do that. I don't know what happened in that very case. So where am I going to? We have had a retinue of complaints about this very man. But my question has been, what are we doing? Or do we always defend when these issues come up? Or do we always condemn and then take no further action to ensure that these things do not reoccur? Why am I saying this? Until the political leadership decides to show grit and will when it comes to dealing with issues like this, when it comes to dealing with issues like this kind of infraction, we might end up being in circles whereby this one happens, we condemn, and nothing happens again. Now, I've been asking this very question: what kind of mechanisms were put in place to deal with this kind of infractions at the point of the conception of these very security outfits? Or we just conceive them and they said, okay, just go to work, let's see how it's going to happen. Was there any kind of mechanism put in place to ensure that these guys are held accountable for the actions? What is the command and control like? What is it like? In fact, I took my time this very morning to go through the Anambra Homeland Security Law of 2025, which established this Agune Chamber, and I saw that there are penalties for people who obstruct Agune Chamber in the course of doing their legitimate job. There are penalties, but there are no penalties for Agune Chamber operatives who err in the course of doing their job. Rather, it's meant for internal control, where internal department decide on what becomes the consequences of such actions. So, people who are in charge, how do they get to close these very gaps that we've been seeing? How do they get to close these very gaps so that those sparks we saw early will be maintained, other than what we are seeing now?
I think there are rules of engagement, and just like you pointed out earlier on, that in the Homeland Security Law establishing Agune Chamber, that there are clear penalties against those who obstruct their work, but then no penalties against when they err. I'm aware mostly that in engaging these people, one, there will be clear rules of engagement, which means that they must operate under a defined laws and avoid arbitrary actions. That is one. Then the issue of training in human rights and policing. Instead of them deploying brutal tactics, they must be trained in lawful arrest, investigation, and also community policing. And there is this issue of accountability, that these operatives who torture or kill unlawfully must face trials like any other criminals, because once you go outside the rules of engagement, you're a criminal. Then, lastly, there should be also community oversight. I'm aware that we have a Amotekun in the southwest, and then we have had issues like this in their own case. But how we are able to treat it is something we must learn. I'm also aware that we have a Bubago in Imo State. You also have a Bubago in Ebonyi State. If you look around, sometime around 2022, in our Mama, in Oru East local government area of Imo State, we are over 14 youths. We are shot dead. Until today, no single operative of Ebubago has been known to be prosecuted. That is one. I'm also aware that in Ebonyi State, sometimes around Akeze, in Ivo local government area, we have 7 youths returning from a wedding we executed. Are you going to talk about the issue of Amotekun? I have also said. See, the point I'm trying to make is I'm just trying to let you know what is going around in the country. And these things have no place in our society. In 2021, there was a viral video that showed Amotekun operatives flogging and dehumanizing young men they are accused of being cultists. The brutality was condemned as jungle justice, but what happened afterwards? In Oyo State, sometime around 2021, Amotekun operatives allegedly shot and killed a 21-year-old student, Tosin Thomas, at a bus stop in Mokola, Ibadan.
So, Tony,
the government admitted the killing and promised reforms. Then, in Ekiti State, there were reports of Amotekun operatives torturing motorcyclists who violated restrictions using horsewhips and subjecting them to degrading treatment. Even in Osun State, traders and artisans complained of harassment and extortion by Amotekun operatives. See, if you look around, these things are not justifiable. And in the case of Anambra State, we must lead the light, because that's why we are the light of the nation. So the point remains that I have always said that once you give somebody arm and you don't have strong oversight on that person, for them, that arm becomes a tool for them to go on and do whatever they want to do.
So
they may extort, dehumanize, do all manner of criminal activities. My concern is this: are we going to learn a lesson from this? Yes, we know, just like you pointed out, Franklin, that they have helped to bring down level of insecurity in Anambra State. We must acknowledge that. But people are complaining of extortionism, especially when you mount toes, extorting from them. Is it part of the engagement? Is it part of the role? That is one. And secondly, we need to know those involved, because we've been told that they have been identified, they have been dismissed, they have been prosecuted. I don't think anything is wrong if we know their names. I don't think anything is wrong if we know them, because it will serve as deterrent to those in the system. Just like there was a video by one Matthias where he was saying that there was a time he was with Ken Emakai, and then he was having engagement with the Ken Emakai is the special advisor to the governor on community security, and one of the operatives was brought before him. What was the problem? That he was accused of this brutality. That before him, he was undressed, he was dismissed, and then he was also beaten. In fact, he was given orderly room, some kind of engagement. But I saw the video. But the people were saying, "Oh, Matthias, you've been bribed. Matthias, oh, government has also co-opted you to promote it." I saw the record. In fact, I sent the link to some of our colleagues to watch. So the point is, the man that was making the video was swearing with his life that if this never happened, may he not see the next day. But that is, by the way, the point I'm trying to make is this: I have preached about body cam. What is body cam? Body camera. Body camera sign, is a symbol of strong oversight. If you don't have oversight the way you are here now, and you're working here, and there's no strong oversight on you, there are times temptations will come, human error will come, But when you know that you are heavily supervised, monitored, in UK, we have treated this issue here. And I said there was brutalization in UK police. In fact, it was something unheard of in the 80s, early 90s. There were complaints. People revolted. What happened? So they thought about, how do we oversight on these people? That was how most European countries, Western countries, introduce body camera, where they have a control room. Whatever you do with our tool, gun, motor, and we will look at how you go about it. If you look at some of these operational vehicles for Agone Chamber, most of these operational vehicles look somehow. Many of them are taught, many of them are badged. In fact, you look, have they been given training? The police PRO in a video post said that they had been given training, that Anambra State Police Command gave these people training. But is that training enough? Because one thing I know about training is a continuous process. There should be training and retraining, no doubt. And some people have questioned, how much are these people being paid? That could it be the reason why they mount these blocks? The answer is, if that becomes an issue, it should not be justified under whatever circumstances of mounting a roadblock. And where you are trying to protect people, because Agone Chamber means the ago, the leopard that protects. So are you protecting the people? So it wouldn't take it.
Can I add something? I agree with you that there's need for us to have a check whether we're going to use body cam or not. But I also have concern about this very body camera. You know why? If you have body cameras mounted even under the soul of these very operatives, and at the end of the day we have this very evidence, overwhelming evidence showing that they have erred in one way or the other, and there is no will by the command and control to deal with those infractions, of course they become of no use. Okay. Now what I'm talking about is, because in our system we have this long age decay in the system that even in the police, a policeman can kill somebody today and you hear that he's been arrested, but if that person has a strong man in the system, they will have a way to give me a soft landing. We know this. So the same thing applies in this our system. So what I'm looking at is, let's have that very will that it's not going to be business as usual. One, the Agone Chamber has to first of all institute a formal means of people laying complaints. Just like police now has a complaint desk through which you can file a complaint. They should start with this. Let's even have a formal desk where people can go in, lay their complaint, call Alebo Nkebona. Because what the system we have now is, maybe you see Agone Chamber doing something that is not good somewhere, you begin to make call. Maybe you have somebody in the system, you now call, oh, see what is happening there. But let's have a formal desk where people can just go and lay the complaint. That's number one. Then number two, you talked about training and orientation. I agree. Everybody needs constant training to improve on what they do. But to some extent, you cannot tame a lion. You might try to tame a lion, but that instinct in a lion will one day surface. What am I saying? These people who are the members of the operative, how were they recruited? Was there a proper vetting, security profiling, or we just went to the streets and found people who were jobless, who were doing nothing, who were willing to carry guns, and we brought them in? Because one thing we know is that, is it the mindset? That's a kind of mindset that you might not change. There are some persons that you will bring into the system for the fact that they have guns at their disposal. And some of them even have illicit drug. And some of them even have Abraham Nana. The fact that these things are combined, it gives them this feeling of invincibility. I can do anything and go scot-free. Just go and watch the way some of these very operatives, the way they operate on the road. The kind of braggadocio. If they're on the road with you, you can't be on the same road with them. You must go into the bush for them to pass. So that tells us that if they seem or if they seem we see they are not, or they are not. So we need to begin to find a way to make actions to have consequences, not even waiting for people until when people begin to cry before we take action. Then there's one missing point I want the security advisor to deal with, because when he was telling the story of what happened in Oba, he said it was in the course of trying to identify or trying to arrest the cultists who ran into certain houses that a misunderstanding ensued. What was that misunderstanding?
Before you proceed,
what was that misunderstanding that we want to know?
I've been
Then,
trying to ask.
Just last one. Then somebody advanced an opinion, and even this very morning, I read from an editorial of an Anambra-based newspaper saying that it's time to disband Aguna Chamber. Has it gotten to that very point?
I think if you disband them, we have insecurity back, and we should not complain. And let me say this: there have been activities in the state. Yes, we have had records of pockets of kidnap, but remember how it were before. Let's be honest, because we should know where we are coming from. You ask the question, has it got to the point of disband? If you disband them, it means that there is no more security. And let me say this: police, yes, have a complaint desk. You asked, problems associated with their brutality, has it stopped? The answer is no. How many of them have been dismissed? How many of them, the most important thing is this: one, let them be supervised. I have always preached body camera. That is what is being done elsewhere. Look at, most of them will tell you, I will shoot you, nothing will happen. Why will you tell somebody will shoot him and nothing will happen? Because you are not supervised. You are not being oversighted. For the fact you are not supervised, you tell anybody, I can do whatever I want to do. And another thing is this: we must make sure that those who are working for these operatives or these institutions, they do not take drugs, illicit drugs. I have had a couple of times where I've been able to cite most of these, both police and then these local vigilantes. They take these hard substances, and when somebody takes this hard substance, the person may not really be in control of himself. So it must be a code of conduct that you must not, and there should be drug testing. If they are going out for duty, can they be tested for drugs? And then probably there will be periodic drug testing amongst them. I think if we do that, it will go a long way to curb these malice, to curb these excesses. Periodic drug testing amongst them. If you are being tested and you are under what they call it Murumiri, or you're under Igbo, or whatever you're under, you cannot be given a gun. We cannot. Out there where we copied our democracy from, these people are subjected to periodic tests to know if they are addicted. Some of them are addicted to these substances and they have a gun. That is one. Secondly, the issue of body camera, and then the issue of supervision is important. Like if you look at what happened in Oba, let's assume they were on their legitimate assignment, and somebody obstructed their movement, their arrest they wanted. Do you resort to brutalization? We've seen situations where EFCC broke through the ceiling. We've seen situations where EFCC scaled the fence. What happened in Oka? We've seen situations where police also brutalized. So the point now I'm trying to make is this malady, though inherited from colonial masters, must stop. It's today with Aguna Chamber. And I believe that there should be institutional check.
All right.
About the operatives.
Hold on to more of those thoughts, because I also have a lot of questions to ask based on the things you have said so far, Tony. But we quickly need to attend to a commercial. When we come back, the conversation continues. Do stay.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
Anambra Patriots for Soludo. Ndị Anambra gakwanụ ntị o, unu ekwekwene ka ewere unu wee gbochie ọrụ ọma Chukwu nna Chichas Soludo wee na-arụ na Anambra steeti. Unu makwa na anyụkọ mamịrị ọnụ ọkpụ ụfụfụ. Ngwa bịakọtanụ n'igwe ka anyị kwado nwanne anyị nwoke bụ Chukwu ma Chichas Soludo. Unu afụghị ihe niile ọ na-eme na mbara dị iche iche site na Anambra North, South to Central. Nekwa okporo ụzọ niile nke ọrụgo, nekwa ụlọ akwụkwọ nke ọ na-emepe, nekwa hospital nke ọrụgo. Unu afụgonụ ka ụmụ nwaanyị anyị si wee na-amụ nwa n'udo free of charge. Ụmụ akwụkwọ wee na-agụ akwụkwọ n'efu. Ihe a niile ya na ihe ndị ọzọ maka Chukwuma Charles Soludo na-eme na Anambra State. A na-ekwusi maka New Government House nke kwuru okwu ya kemgbe 1991, ya bụ 34 years na ya na Soludo arụgharịghị ya. Kedu maka New Solution Fund City nwanne m Soludo nọ n'ọrụ? Ndị Anambra ọrụ ọma ama ngwụgwọ agụ bịanụ n'igwe ka anyị kwado nwanne anyị nwoke bụ Chukwuma Charles Soludo. Anambra Patriots for Soludo.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
You're listening to the Polity. Get involved now.
All right, Tony, let's talk. Because before we went on that break, I took my time to listen to you. One of the things you pointed out is the fact when you read your own investigation about what happened, you said they were pursuing fraudsters.
That was not what I said. That was what Ken said.
Oh,
not
no,
what
Ken
I said.
said cultists. The report you read said fraudsters.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Internet fraudsters.
Ken's report said they were pursuing cultists.
Yes.
And your report said they were pursuing
Internet
fraudsters.
fraudsters. Internet fraudsters.
Internet fraudsters. Okay, the ones we know as Yahoo boys, simply put. Now, the question is, where is this information gap coming from? Does it mean that for an event that happened in July, this is 20th of August, 5 days shy of 1 month, we do not have explicitly a true account of what happened, and yet we say they've been taken care of? That is question number one. Number two, you were emphatic on how Moteku, they have all been caught one way or the other in this malady of being erratic in their display of power and authority. And I'd like to ask, is this a problem of the Nigerian, the average black man, being power intoxicated once he wields a gun? And what can we do about it? Because a person I know would always say, whatever you permit, you permanent. Is it a problem of existing institutions being known for these anomalies, for an institution that was rebirthed on the 18th of January? One would have thought that the madness of the AVG would not be transferred to the baptized Agune chamber. Also, we have seen people talk about an obstruction of arrest leading to what happened. And the big question would be, one woman obstruct arrest and 6 men pounce on her. There is an extra man to make a video, and there are other men conducting the supposed search. Is this really a case of arrest obstruction, or a case of power intoxicated people who do not seize any opportunity to put anybody down, gender regardless?
I think you have asked 3 questions. If I'm to take the first one about the disparity about the accounts, the account I actually gave was based on my own personal findings, and then the investigation we say truly what happened. I think Ken Emeka was saying based on his own investigation carried out, whether cultists or internet fraudsters, that is not the material thing. The material thing was, how did they go about that very assignment? How did they go about it? So now when an arrest is obstructed, though the law treats it as a serious offense called obstruction of justice or resisting arrest, depending on the circumstances. But how is it actually cast under Nigerian law? The immediate consequence, the person obstructing, whether the suspect or third party, can be forcibly restrained by law enforcement, but what they are forcibly restrained by law enforcement agents will be minimal, very minimal, and officers are legally empowered to use reasonable force to overcome the obstruction. The word there is reasonable. I'm putting law now. Reasonable force to overcome the obstruction, and the obstructing party can be charged separately for obstructing a public officer or resisting lawful arrest under Nigeria's Criminal Code, Section 135. Anyone who resists or prevents lawful arrest commits an offense and may face imprisonment. And the situation, if the obstruction involves violence like fighting the officers, mobilizing a mob, or using weapons, the police may escalate to self-defense, or this time around the vigilante, or use of firearm, but subject to rules of their engagements. See, you look at the legal burden. The obstructor cannot later claim ignorance if the arrest was lawful. And also, however, if the arrest itself was unlawful, that is wrong suspect, no warrant where required, no reasonable suspicion. These are things. If there is no reasonable suspicion, no warrant where required, or wrong suspect, the obstructed party may later sue for unlawful arrest or assault. So the idea is for us to understand the position of the law, which I have made clear now.
Speaking about the position of the law now, you said whether they were fraudsters or cultists is immaterial. But I would like to let you know, Tony, that it is in small things like identity that we know how issues are handled. Because we do know that there is a body charged with the responsibility of going after internet fraudsters.
Yes.
And so you would agree with me that the Adigune Chamber people have no right. It is not their to go after. So the identity is important. Who were they going after? And for what reason? I'm trying to explain to you that I believe, from what the law says, that identity is important, because there are people charged with responsibility of going after certain people. When it is a financial crime, there are people for that. When it is an issue like cultism, then there are people for that.
Remember, the law says anybody can arrest and hand over to the appropriate authority. See, police have been involved in financial crimes. They can hand over to EFCC. EFCC becomes the prosecuting agency. They don't prosecute. Even Agone Chamber, I cannot sit down here and say they can go after the internet fraudsters. I can't stand there and say that, because if you allow them, or if you ask them to do that, they will abuse it. But that does not mean that you cannot arrest and hand over to the police. Even if you see fraudsters, internet fraudsters, you can make arrest and hand over to EFCC, and they become the prosecuting agency. That is one. And then if you see any infringement, the law empowers you as a citizen to make arrest. But the most important thing is, when you make that arrest, who do you hand over to? That is why I have always maintained that the most important thing is the approach. See, from what I have seen so far, most of these operating agencies, they have used bestiality to treat humans. You don't treat human beings that way. See, no matter what we say here, my position is this: I totally condemn what happened at Oba, and I must commend the general public for speaking out. No matter how we try to put it, no matter how we try to explain what happened in other places, how it happened, the most important thing is that it is totally condemnable. And I have said also here that we should not stop at condemnation. We need to know these people. We need to see them prosecuted, because just like Franklin said, most times many of them that may have one contact or other may find a way of coming out. We've seen that in the case of police. We've seen that in case of some people arrested for different reasons. So the question is, the court of public opinion is becoming potent now, no matter how you look at it. Court of public opinion. And you asked a very solid question: has it gotten to the point where we can say, let's disband them? We must weigh the consequences. If we disband them, what are we going to face? If we leave them, what are we going to face? And I'm of the opinion that there are bad eggs amongst them, and we must give them more oversight, monitor what they do, evaluate their performance. Is there any evaluation system where at a week, maybe after 1 week or 2 weeks, we evaluate performance, how some raids or how some arrests or how some crime preventions were carried, and at the same time how this engagement, do we do that? Many times they have been taught about human rights protection, and Franklin rightly pointed out that if they are passing on the road, they drive recklessly, that you have to go to the bush, according to him, for them to pass. Why would we allow that? And I've seen such scenario, and what he is saying is not far from the truth. See, we've seen this idea of braggadocio, that we are these people. See, I've seen some security operatives, in fact the military, though most times they do not drive that way. At times, there are times they drive, but there are times they don't drive. And when these people wield this pump action, they feel that they are the demigods.
They're invincible.
They're unconquerable. The truth remains that we must tone it down. That is not the way to go. It is totally condemnable. So what I'm advising is institutional recheck, where In fact, the recruiting process, if possible, let it be done. Let there be revalidation. Let there be some kind of recertification. Many of them, I don't know where they are coming from, and probably they are people, they are brothers. I don't know. But all I can say is this: that this is an eye opener. People have been complaining of extortion and then high-handedness. These things must be looked into. The kind of argument chamber we want are the ones where that if they are to treat you, you hear them talk to you, and they should have a commander. You don't allow somebody who is stark illiterate to lead such operation, because if he's stark illiterate, he doesn't understand what you mean by human rights violation. He does not understand. He does not understand that you must use a reasonable force, as the law says. Does he know what is reasonable force? For him, any force is force. No. So the point remains that their commanders who lead this operation must show, not only showing, but demonstrate competence when it comes to human engagement. And then if you are to make arrest, there are procedures. You're under arrest, and for this reason and this reason we are taking you there. People have said that they have a detention center, they have this, they are doing a lot of things. These things must be looked into. I think for me, the governor can also set up a kind of an
investigative panel
for all these atrocities committed by these people, and those who have come with a genuine concern. Justice must be served.
Okay. Just small addition. Somebody said body language speaks a whole lot, but it's always silent. That if we have change of body language when it comes to dealing with issues of infractions coming from security agencies, that is going to go a long way in dealing with all these excesses.
All right, then.
And somebody was asking, at this point in time, based on a couple of issues we have had since we have this very regular chamber coming into operation, is it time for the governor to make a public address and sound a note of warning on the erring people who are in this very system?
All right. Hopefully in the coming days, the Anambra State government would I say, put out a stronger statement, and not just putting out a stronger statement, but act more decisively with issues like this. Like you pointed out, Tony, we've had lots of complaints in the past, but we need decisive action on this. Maybe, like you mentioned, the retraining. But I also like to point out, while they are being recalled for retraining, please, their arms should be also taken back, and every arm given to them properly accounted for. We know why. Let's move on to some political matters now. 2027 showdown. Wike fires shots at Amechi. Babachir trashes ADC. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Yesa Wike, has criticized the former Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Babachir Lawal, for allegedly disrespecting former President Bola Tinubu. He said a lot of things. Speaking about Yesa Wike, he said Babachir Lawal is angry because he didn't run as VP. And that is one of the reasons why he keeps poking a hole in everything the president does. But then the big question at this point wouldn't be whether the president's administration, there is any truth in what Babachir Lawal said. The question would be what I call it, the stand of the ADC now, with the likes of Amechi hoping to get a platform there, and not just Amechi but other prominent politicians. And this what I call it, repeated impression that the ADC have, more like a recycling of problems, trying to wolves now trying to wear some sort of sheep clothing. Do you buy that? Because that's the way I'd interpret what Wike said.
Most times I've listened to Wike. I think even before Wike was on that program last night, I listened to a point. I have to do other things, and then before that program, there was also another guest who made the same allusion that why Babachir Lawal is angry was because he was not picked
as VP.
As the VP, and then he now tried to escalate it as Christian against Muslim. Babachir Lawal is a politician. I've always maintained it, and politics is a game of interest. Why is Wike angry? Because Atiku did not pick him. He is saying that Babachir Lawal is angry because Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the president, did not pick him as the VP. Now the question is Wike also angry that Atiku did not pick him as VP? Now he's trying to measure these two things. One, we saw how he fought Atiku openly. In fact, it was a kind of a show of shame. He called Atiku all sort of names, and then also said that he will not have this. Why was he doing that? Because he's angry. I think if I were the anchor person, I will try to situate this based on what happened between him and Atiku and what is happening. So if you compare what happened between him and Atiku and what happens between him and Babachi Olawa and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, we find out that of Babachi Olawa is even lesser compared to what happened. He wanted to be president. First, Atiku won him in that primaries, whether rightly or wrongly, it's left for them to decide. But when Atiku was to pick a VP, he positioned himself for such a pick so that it could prove a potent force in the election. But Atiku felt the other way, went and chose Ifeanyi Okowa, and Wike went berserk. He went agog. So if Babachi Olawa is doing what he's doing, according to Wike, based on the fact that Mr. President did not choose him, it can also be said that Wike did what he did because Atiku did not also choose him. So these are politicians. They are so much concerned about their interest. And when their interest, for whatever reason, is being obstructed, they choose or they tend to go any other way. And I've always said this to many Nigerians, that these people are playing politics. Leave them. They are playing politics. But don't come here to condemn what Babachi Olawa did according to Wike. Wike has no moral justification or social justification to condemn what Babachi Olawa did, because he has done much more than that. See, for whatever reason, Babachi Olawa said he had had a relationship with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for many years and all that, and he was expecting something. And when he was disappointed, it's women for him to feel bad. But the way he goes about it is another thing. It's something probably when we put it under our own scrutiny, we say, oh, you went overboard. You couldn't have gone about it this way or this. But somebody who is making such allusions, somebody who is making that statement, has no moral justification, because the same thing applied to him. And that's my view about it.
Okay, so let's close over to what Wike said about PDP, saying that he wasn't aware that the party is planning for national convention, that he's part of the NEC. He wasn't invited to the meeting, so anything that happened in his absence could be put in the realm of sham. And he said that his camp is going to meet today to decide on the next line of action. Just like we have said that it appears like Wike has been, a principality fashioned against PDP, that if they make one progress today, he comes back. But I can remember that about 3 weeks ago, some person in the PDP said that they have resolved their issues, that some grounds had been considered to Wike for them to make progress. But it seems that whatever machinations he has, they are still in the cabinet. Now, from what we heard him say yesterday, do you see him maybe going to court, trying to use the court to scuttle the PDP convention?
We know Wike, and Wike has not, for whatever reason, be under any veil or undercover his own mission. He has said that he is in PDP to deliver President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and that has not changed. So PDP asking him where does their loyalty belongs is more like asking a rhetorical question. Your question is rhetorical. The man has demonstrated, he has shown, has spoken that this is where my loyalty lies. And you cannot be in PDP and be loyal to Mr. President to that extent of compromising your party's position on some issues. So, for me, the kind of politics Wike is playing has never been played by anybody in the history of this country. And people are saying that this kind of politics deserves to be studied in universities. Some have called it Wike 101. Wike, there is a different title for courses in university, saying that nobody has played or had played this kind of or this brand of politics. And PDP allows it. And why PDP is so lame at this point is because he has compromised a number of them in their leadership positions. And he has said that his camp, look at what he's saying. A member of a political party saying, my camp will meet. So there are camps, official camps.
Well,
in political party, official camps. He said,
isn't that why we have them pulling their camps away to go to coalitions?
That is the truth remains that
it won't be starting with Wike.
I don't know. The point is this: we know that this thing exists, but the way he he's talking about them.
Who pays the piper? What
My
do you say
camp.
about that?
He didn't even say, "Oh, my loyalists, my supporters." He said, "My camp." So
well.
what that means is this. No, he has made it known. Sometimes we know that these things exist, but where it does exist, and somebody comes out to rub it on the faces of others, that is the height of insensitivity. And he has said his camp will meet. And who are these? His camp, the G5, even members of Damagun has not justified whether he belongs to Wike camp or not. Even Sam Anyanwu is a member of his camp. The party chairman, national chairman, is being fingered to belongs to the Wike's camp. And the national secretary, these are the two persons that sign nomination form. The chairman and the possibly sometimes the secretary or sometimes the chairman alone. So if for them to have a convention, for them to have a meeting, for them to have anything, the chairman and the secretary signs. And when these two persons, one is obvious, Sam Anyanwu, he belongs to Wike's camp, and then Damagun is being fingered to belong, and he's just trying to say I do not, or somehow, but the handwritings are on the wall that he belongs to the camp. So PDP belongs to Wike. There is no doubt, or there is no gainsaying. Forget all these things I'm saying. Those who are still there, you look at Bala Muhammad, the governors, the one who is the PDP Governors Forum chairman. You look at Shehi Makinde, and you also look so many of them. Wike holds them to his grip. So forget all these things are window dressing. These are smoke screen. These are not real. The point remains that Nigerians cannot be deceived for those who are politically conscious, and PDP has kept in for APC. So forget all this window dressing.
Well, unfortunately, it is what it is. U.S. report has raised concerns over security and justice in Nigeria. This is a report by the Vanguard newspaper where we are learning that the United States government has raised concerns over security and justice delivery in the country, citing cases of enforced disappearances and arbitrary detention. Also, this report, which is a report on human rights practices for 2024, released by the Department of Service, Bureau of Democracy, Human Rights and Labor, has identified lengthy pretrial detentions and delays as major challenges facing justice delivery in Nigeria. This is as clear as day, Tony. The big question would be, how do we put an end to a problem like this? I mean, this is just one side of the story. Also, we have the prolonged detention of people who have not even been tried in Nigeria, all putting a spoke in the wheel of justice as long as the rights of people in Nigeria are concerned. Also, this report has revealed that the new minimum wage of 70,000 naira has been undermined by the continuous appreciation of the naira. This also was while quoting the Amnesty International, saying that the whereabouts of dozens of young men detained at Okusasas, and also the whereabouts of the former the whereabouts of the people who were detained at Okusasas before since after its disbandment, rather, is still not been accounted for.
I think I will look at this issue from the two angles. One, the messenger and the message.
Okay.
If I'm to take on the message is as explicit as you can. It's vivid. I can't forward the message.
Okay.
But if you look at the messenger, I can forward the messenger.
Let's not even go at the messenger. Let's concentrate on the messenger. What do we do to make things better?
We will educate people about the messenger. The messenger, they don't have moral compacts. In fact, they have committed more. The messenger, I'm talking about the UX. We saw how the immigrants, how they were treated just recently. How they were clamped down, they cracked down on the migrants, where they termed them illegal immigrants. And if you go back, you see how the protests, we saw all those things. And the same people that just finished.
You see why I said we shouldn't waste time on the messenger. If Nigeria is fixed, Nigerians would have no business running there and being treated anyhow by the messenger.
Apart from Nigerians, we are talking about Mexicans. We are talking about so many of them.
Let's stick to Nigeria
The point is this: if you look at the message is just like I said, it's very clear. There had a lot. We talk about those who were forced. You are talking about the forceful detention, arbitrary this, arbitrary that. What reigns in Nigeria is arbitrariness. We have, relegated code of conduct, ethical conduct to the background, and that's why you see institutions, priding themselves they can do and don't do. Now, tell me one institution in this country that follows the ethical conduct or their legal mandate in going about what. Just tell me one. If you tell me one, I will rest my case. So we have not just weak institutions, but dilapidated institutions in this country. And I will make bold to say, and we keep being reminded of this by those who are not even supposed to remind us, by those who have the same hollow challenges. But remember, they have a better institutions than us, no doubt. They have a better institution than us. So, but in any case, if you go to Ghana, if you go to Togo, if you go to Chad, we look around. Ghana seems to be getting out from their darkness, trying to redefine quite a lot of things, trying to strengthen institutions, see, I have said many times here, the time politicians should set aside their political differences and then talk about the interest, the progress of this country by ensuring that we have strong institutions, will be the beginning of good things to happen in this country. We have big men, we have bigger personalities than institutions. And that is why in any of the things you want to do, you must roger, you must give money, you must partner with something. If you don't do it, I don't know what is going on. So in any case, there is need for us to be reminded, even by those who may be committing the same thing in a smaller way or in a bigger way. We need to be reminded. We have not seen the light. They have seen the light. And we've seen darkness. Keep choosing darkness. Remain in darkness. That is what is going on here. That is the outright, the obvious truth. And our own, I have always said, being the watchdog of society is to point out to this madness, to these irregularities, to these things that keep happening in our society. What is the place of ordinary person in this country? If you ask that question, what is going on? So it is what it is. And do we see the sign, or do we see anything changing anytime soon? In all of the legislations, let me say this thing. Most assemblies, we call it legislative assembly anywhere in the world, do you know where they focus more? They try to use legislations to strengthen institutions. And when you talk about strengthening institutions, first and foremost, it is mostly through legislation and other means. There are other ways. What are they doing to strengthen these institutions? Trying to make it in such a way that no man has overtly influence or a kind of influence over an institution. Here, just somebody, just like we know, contacts. The question is, people now see contacts ahead of ethical conduct and this. In fact, if some of these people who are in this institution do their work, a contact will change a lot of things. You see some people, you have seen some ladies saying, I can sack you from your work. Do you know I can make you to lose your work? When people speak in such manner, it means that all is lost. Unfortunately,
we hope that someday all will not be lost anymore, because this is the state of things now. But by the time we start to have the kind of institutional, would I call it revamp that we have been asking for, hopefully things will go back to being better, or would come to being better, because for the longest time it's been this bad. It's just been moving from bad to worse as the days go by. But quickly, Tony, react on the Nigerian Governors Forum's introduction or launch of the Investopedia yesterday in Abuja.
These things, for me, they are just part of election tactics. You are launching Investopedia. What is Investopedia? Investopedia has to do with a kind of a
publication highlighting major projects across the sectors, offering analysis, incentives, and market insights.
Do you have security in those places?
That's why I'm asking you.
No. You are just trying. You still think these people, they don't know things going on in this country. Most of these countries, they have either embassy or high commission in your country. They follow your local news. They go through your social media. They go through your blogs. So trying to launder the image of the country by setting up Investopedia or whatever you call it will not change anything. Most investors, for them to invest in your country, they contact their high commission, they contact their embassy, ask necessary. They don't get those information from you because they know that you will paint a different narration. They get this information from their high commission, from their embassies in your country before they make investments. And most times their embassies give them some kind of advice based on places to go, places not to go, places to invest. They will not disclose some of these things to you. The most important thing is make your environment worthy of living. Launching Investopedia will not change anything. That is my honest opinion.
All right, then we go on a quick commercial break right now. Do not forget we are still live on Facebook at Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Once we come back, we open up the phone lines. Do stay.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
Quality bread, Wendy's bread. For your family breakfast, Wendy's bread. Opa chane dosialo, Wendy's bread. Mama papa they like Wendy's bread. Tachi chane nyandu, Wendy's bread. Even children they like Wendy's bread. Wendy's bread. Wendy's bread. Get it better tasty, we go sweet your belly. Wendy's bread. Wendy's your bachichoma. Wendy's bread, champion.
Wendy's bread, yum tasty bread. You can contact us on our official address, Second Business Park, Enugu Road, GRA, beside Onitsha, Anambra State. We also have another branch at St. Michael Plaza at Tani Road. Also contact us on 070-1149-1571. Wendy's bread, yum tasty bread.
Wendy's bread.
Hooray! Football is alive again in Onitsha. One Nibonyegu, one Nimekegu, Egwekere Football Street Championship. My guy, come rep your street. Come show the world that your street has got the best talent in town. Egwekere Football Street Championship. Egwekere Football Street Championship is a football tournament to be played among different streets of Onitsha. Winners will take home 1.5 million naira. I repeat, 1.5 million naira. So what are you still waiting for? Call this number
0806-391-5257
for your registration and further inquiries. Registration runs from 1st to 30th of August 2025. Special thanks to our headline sponsors, Winners Global Estate Limited, and our media partners, Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Egwekere Football Street Championship. Ball Obe na Doda.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
It's absolutely your time to get involved in the conversation. Go straight to the point when you put the call across. Be as objective as possible and stick to the 2 minutes mark. You can also drop your comment on Facebook. The numbers to call are 0803-221-6973 or 0803-827-6694. Hello, good morning. You should try to reconnect. 0803-221-6973, 0803-827-6694. Hello, good morning.
Hello?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Tony. Good morning, my lady. I'm Franklin. Good morning, my friend. That is my name. I'm so sorry for him. Honestly, from the bottom of my heart. I'm terribly sorry for him. He's looking so old. And this situation could be described as pathetic. It's pathetically pathetic. It's like if you're a friend of Shakespeare. Like when Shakespeare, Macbeth died. You know, he got confused about being born by a woman or not being born by a woman. That's wicked situation. What's him? Now, let's talk about the issue at hand. The serious things, you know. You see, what has happened now is that we're making stripping of girls and women naked to become the norm gradually. Fashionable maybe, but let me tell us that it must stop. It is evil and it must stop. We must stop it. Because we don't have rule of law. There are no consequences for offenses committed in our country. Rather, the person that was victimized becomes the victim, the victim becomes victimized. It's unheard of. And we will, okay, what do we do? We condemn it, No. If we are serious about condemning this kind of crime and other crimes, we must go to Saudi Arabia, we must go to the Far East China, where there is rule of law. We don't have the political willpower to put stringent laws against those we call security outreach. They are all comers. Where do they come from? You don't know, see them from the park.
You should be rounding off now. You should be rounding off.
Everybody. Worse still, where were they trained? Where were they trained?
Right. Your question has been quite noted. The manner of training they have, and the question of if they have any training at all. Big question there. 0803-221-6973. Hello. Good morning. Are you there? Good morning.
Good morning, Tony. Good morning.
You're welcome.
My speaker, good morning as well. Mr. Zika reaching from Onitsha. My heart bleeds over the incessant attack on innocent civilians in the name of security. Thank you for coming up with this analysis. And I want to thank the state government as well, taking prompt action that it should not end on media. These kinds, no matter what is the problem over there, got to face the music. My speaker, sometime last year at Beirut, in my presence, a shuttle truck was carrying a heavy, timber something. And due to the back road where he wanted to negotiate, he took the wrong way so that the thing would not fall. A Lexus man followed him that fast, bumper to bumper. But other people lined up in their own section, waiting for the man to finish. Eventually, he rolled back. And the man was trying to wrinkle himself out, Lexus man. The left side of the headlamp was badly damaged on the bumper. And he came out, began to shout and wreck. And people said, Oga, you are wrong. Why do you follow him? Seriously. You're supposed to be on our right. Are you getting me? You know what happened? Next second, he made a call. Such and landed that place, apprehended that man. For drastic offense that he is even guilty of. I think the governor should look into this set of people. My speaker, please, can we have the profile of Ebuka who is heading this security outfit? Is he a security personnel? Or does he have a background of kind of military or police? Are you getting it? These kinds ought to be checkmated because the level of brutality on that girl at Oba, no matter whatever is condemnable. On weekend, I'm thinking that he should take care of himself. He's practicing politics of bitterness and vengeance. And you know, when one is not happy, no amount of money or food that penetrates through your system. Am I right? Look at his face. You know how old Wike is. With all the money he claimed to have. You understand that the by-elections connected sometime last week, most of them died, Abby. So then change positions. It's just ordinary mortar. Thank you.
All right then. Point has been noted. Good morning.
Good morning. We try on the studio.
Good morning.
This is Anthony and Neketa. I'm calling from Onitsha.
Go ahead, Anthony. Yes, please.
Okay. You see, it's very disturbing the incessant brutality of the security operative that we have here in the state. And it has becoming something so incessant that they are as if the government is paying a lip service to it. When I was making my submission on the Ibom Air's assault, I applauded and commended the way the security operatives there, officials, conducted themselves in the assault or in the confrontation that they had with the passenger. Because I made a comparison that if such outbursts had happened with the SASA operatives here or the vigilante, I said it could have been bloody. Not knowing that a scene has always has already been dedicated to that effect. So what I'm saying in effect is that there has been a lot of alarm being raised in the way security operatives goes about their lawful activities in this state. And it has been seen that the government has done nothing about it. Even when we are raising an eyebrow on the specialization, using testing to rip out people's bones. And the government has not said anything about it. So I want to say that this approach that the government on seat has taken to this thing shows negligence to people's human rights. So I want the government to do a decisive punishment to the culprit of this thing. So that it won't just end in retraining and we are going to condemn it or support. We're going to see that they have been dismissed and later they have been promoted to be an ambassador for good behavior. So this ought to stop. If it need to be disbanded, so that citizens our security operatives. So that when you look at the actions, you're going to ask, are these people criminals or security operatives? So government, even the governor of the state, must respond to this swiftly so that it will not become, because I fear that this will happen again if the government gives approach the same way they used to give other approaches on other brutality that goes on with the security operatives in the state. So I expect to hear from him, or if he goes ahead to do the same approach, the thing will be reoccurring, and it's not a very good development. Let's not begin to compare with other states, because Anambra State, we are saying that it leads the way for others to follow. And that's my case here as far as commit.
All right then. Good morning. Let's hear what you have to say. Hello. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Akamere.
Go ahead, Akamere.
I'm calling from Kenya.
Go ahead, please.
My speaker.
Good
I
morning.
always commend you because you are doing a good work. No, you don't know what you are doing for us every morning. Like this morning, when Chisom was introducing to start this program, I didn't hear your voice. I was kind of.
Akamere, please go straight to the point.
Okay, what I want to say is I want to talk on this, what happened at Oba. Every light-thinking human being should condemn what happened at Oba. And also, we can't say that they have not tried, because we know what happened before in this state, how insecurity, people were killing on daily basis. But what we want to say, it's like these people doesn't know the reason why they were created. I don't think they know what the reason why the governor has installed them. Because some of them are going out, for this debt. If someone owes you now, if you know them, you go and call them, then they'll go and collect that money. I don't think that is their work. And also on PDP, as long as PDP Wike is in that party, I don't think they will go any way. Except they start Wike, they should just start Wike, and then they can do well. Thank you so much. Good morning.
Good morning, Akamere. Good morning. Try to reconnect 0803-221-6974, 0803-827-6694. Good morning.
Good morning, Chisom.
Good morning.
I'm Emmanuel calling from Onitsha.
Go ahead, Emmanuel.
Well, this is what happened at Oba. When these people are saying that they are pushing cultists or they are pushing criminal or they are pushing whatever, did that girl look like the person that they are pushing? Did that girl look like the man that is driving the machine as they could? Let them stop all this type of thing they are doing in Olisa here, in Anambra State, because they are trying to destroy the good work that our governor is doing to us. And nobody should talk of disbanding them. No, we cannot disband them. All of us know what is happening in Anambra State last year. So we cannot disband them. But what I want to ask is, if you want to train them, who are going to train them? Is it our police? This police I'm saying. I was listening to the one that have what police have been there in Port Harcourt, breaking somebody's just because they carry military card. It happens in Lagos. They just abuse Reverend Father with full regalia. It happened in the Lagos State. So who is the person that are going to send them? This police. All I want to see is that let MIK choose like retired soldiers to reshuffle these people so that they will be removed the chaff from them and leave us with the weight. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your contribution. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Badmus or no, I'm calling from a name.
Go ahead, Badmus.
Good. Franklin pointed out something. He answered a question that I posted in the morning. I asked, what is the position of the law concerning, in order for to punish these guys that did it? What, when they are creating the law that created this security outfit, do they put anything on ground as punishment in a way that along the line, if those involved move away from what they are sent to do? And Franklin answered no. So there is no punishment for them. So people that told me that they are saying they should be punished, which law will they use to punish them? Which law? Because when had it been so, all the House of Assembly members we have in Anambra State, they did not remember to put something on ground that will say that those that are involved in this, once you do this, this is a punishment. They did not remember to put it on writing. And now they are telling us to punish them with ordinary mouth. As long as I'm concerned, as long as there is no written document backing the so-called punishment you are going to give them, and if this involved, there is a way you will punish them. They will sue you to court, and they are going to, you will pay damages. I'm telling you. So what I'm trying to say is, it's not all about making laws. When you want to make law, make sure that you put it in a way that it is going to be balanced from all sides. Because as long as this, the law they use to establish this agro chamber now, there is no punishment for them, even if what they did. All we are saying that punish them, but we do not have any written law that backs any punishment. Or if maybe Franklin did not get it right. But based on what I heard from Franklin, there is no law backing any punishment on them. So where are we going to get that law to punish them? Or are we going to punish them based on saying punish them on radio? So that one apart. So based on what I said, this one thing with Anambra State is we
should be rounding off now.
Let me tell you, we have it in Imo State. Every time I pass their checkpoint, they don't collect money from me. This outfit we have in it, they don't collect money. This is a problem. When Bakati was formed, they were working perfectly in Abia State. Immediately they stepped their foot in Anambra, they messed up everything. I don't know. Anambra State, if you bring something here, this place will just corrupt it and it will destroy. That's it. We have all these similar outfits in Imo State.
I have to let you go. I understand what you're trying to say. Hopefully, they are going to replicate what is being done positively in other parts of the country. Franklin, let's head over to Facebook.
Okay, so for clarity's sake, the Anambra Homeland Security Law 2025, like I said, that if you look at the law, you see that there are penalties mapped up for those who obstruct members of Agna Chamber doing their job, but there's no specific penalty for any Agna Chamber operative who errs in the line of the duty. So it's for emphasis. So let's go over to the Facebook page and see the reactions we have there. We have this one from Dr. Mrs. Molebra from Awara. She says, I joined P2B in feeling ashamed and heartbroken the barbaric attack meted to a corper in Anambra State by vigilantes. This happened in a state governed by Soludo and all he's after if using attacking P2B. Okay, he says this is unacceptable and they must be arrested to face the full weight of the law. Then James God says this issue of security operative brutality in Anambra State has become recurring decimal, and the state government pays lip service to it, so he has enabled it. The state government action on this now, because the video leaked, is a sign of negligence towards citizens' protection. The Homeland Security Law isn't meant to protect the citizen human rights, but the state actors, rascality and must be repelled or amended. Then Maazin Wori Chief Nachi says what recorded number was a heavy tragedy experience to humanity. I think all the security personnel in the Southeast should be rechecked, reformed and reoriented, because many of them are under the influence of different kinds of drugs. They don't even attend secondary school for them to know human rights violations and maltreatment. To me, Agona Chamber in Anambra State is no more protecting the masses, rather the leopard is now against the people and dehumanizing the masses. And he says, in fact, they are now Agune Mebumba. All right. So he gave an example of what they do at ABS Junction here in Onitsha, collecting money for tricycle riders. Then Chukwujeku Drosi says, how can state government make law that give them so much power to act anyhow? Like he says, I hope you know how harm these people has done, killing innocent people in the state. And he says the state government has not done anything to them, which is bad. He says the governor has not even condemned all this inhuman behavior from these guys. We can't continue like this. Let them disband them now before it is too late. Also, Francis Omaga Namani from Enugu State says, government should embark on policies and programs aimed at improving the living standard of Nigerians. And then Ebunike Bonaventure says we should be talking about the Anambra Homeland Security Law of 2025, which gave them the impetus to dehumanize the Anambra. So he says disbanding Agune Chamber or Udogachi will not bring insecurity in Anambra. Said after all, insecurity didn't live before. Personally, the Anambra Homeland Security Law of 2025 is the law that gave them the power to do whatever they are doing. Okay, maybe we can come to this very question before we get to leave. And then, okay, Governor is saying, okay, the governor should hear the cry of the Anambra on the excesses of the security personnel. Then Comrade Elu says, he posted from the relief market. He says, I lend my voice with others clamoring for disbandment of Agone Chamber security outfit. You don't solve problems using the same people that created it. The background and characters of some of the members of the Agone Chamber is questionable. These guys didn't fall from the moon. We know them and what most of them were into before they were officially given arms. I wish a public hearing should be organized on the activities of the Agone Chamber by the government. You guys will be shocked on the revelation that will be coming out and the kind of monsters that are saddled with the responsibility of protecting a number of states. He says this atrocity is just one too many. And Emmanuel Chia, I think this will be the last one I'm going to take. He says, my take on Udogachi security outfit. Okay, let me correct this now. There's a difference between Agone Chamber and Udogachi. Udogachi is a code, the code name given to an operation consisting of security personnel from different security agencies. Like now, this Udogachi, you see policemen inside it, you see army inside it, you see NSCDC, you see Agone Chamber inside it. So there's a difference between the two. He says, my take on this is simple as regard to effectiveness and efficiency in the course of each lawful assignment. Now he's proposing 1, good recruitment system to attract the right people, strong political will to ensure good checks and balances on bad eggs, capacity building and training to enhance competencies, and staff welfare to strengthen motivation. Ordinake Gono, and then Ekanele Chukwume, and then who else again? Okay, Ordinake again. So thank you for the post you dropped on our page. We have to wrap up this very way because we're out of time.
All right, gentlemen. Tony, what comment would you have concerning some of the reactions that have come in so far?
I remember when we did NSACs and then the police must go. Police shut operations and we were the one that begged the police to come back. Have we forgotten in a hurry? After the issue of NSACs, many of the police, many of them went into hiding. They were not coming out. I cannot go to Mbo Junction. I cannot. People were robbing people on broad daylight, snatching their phone, snatching their bag, snatching their car. In fact, many boys started begging police to come back. It happened. It has not been. I think we have the record. So we must know where we are coming from and where we're heading to. We have just said that what these boys need is just to they need to be overhauled, reorientated, and at the same time, probably new ethical code of conduct with body cams and oversight, evaluation, and performance. This some of these things must be instituted. I have been trying to go through Agone Chamber, the Anambra State Homeland Security Law. So I understand that because I have to make sure that we don't make any mistake here. I was trying to read section 9 of that very Homeland Security Law. I've not been able to cite it, but I'm going to come back with it maybe any other time. And I'm also aware somehow that Section 9 talks more about the erring members of the operatives, because I'm wondering how can a state assembly make law overlooking such very important item. But I'm here to understand that Section 9 of that law, somehow carved, was talking about erring members of the vigilante operatives, that errant operatives who exceed their powers can be reported, dismissed, and prosecuted under regular Nigerian criminal laws. I think that's the only thing I can cite under Section 9 of the Homeland Security Law, that errant operatives who exceed their powers can be reported, dismissed, and prosecuted under regular Nigerian criminal laws. And then, Badmus, you asked the question, under which law can they be prosecuted? We have Anti-Torture Act. Many of us don't know that there is Anti-Torture Act of 2017, which explicitly criminalizes torture by both state and non-state actors. In fact, Section 2 makes it an offense punishable by up to 25 years imprisonment for any person, including vigilante operatives, who inflicts torture. Many people don't emphasize on this Anti-Torture Act of 2017. We also have other laws that can be used to prosecute them. We have Criminal Code, the one in the southern part of the country, and Penal Code in the northern part of the country. And I'm also aware that vigilante members who inflict physical harm can face charges under sections between 351 to 355 of Criminal Code for assault and grievous bodily harms. So there are so many laws upon which they can also be prosecuted. We have Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act of 2015, VAPP, which covers both physical assault, intimidation, coercion, and degrading treatment. So when Badmus says under which law, there are many laws. I have pointed so many of them here now. So, and also Section 9, which I said that I'm looking at a draft law, but all I can cite is that Section 9 also has a provision for erring members of the vigilante group. So we must ensure that we cover everything. But just like I said earlier on, we know the cry we made when the police seems to go into hiding based on what happened, and we were the one literally begging them to come back. I cannot pass Old Road, I cannot pass New Pass, I cannot pass, because we saw criminal activities taking over. So we must know where we are coming from. We need to overhaul this team and get the best out of them. That's my submission.
All right, Franklin.
I think we should start with how the command and control of Agone Chamber handles complaints, because it has a way of sending message. It has a way of sending message. Take, for instance, if somebody has an infraction that he wants to report, and maybe he knows the head and he calls the head, the way the head treats that complaint determines how the person is going to perceive what is going on when it comes to making people responsible for the action. If you are called upon and you treat that shabbily, or you don't even pay attention to what people are saying, people will see that you are not serious and don't want to address their concerns. So let's even start from there.
All right, then hopefully in the coming days we'll get positive responses from the government, and we are going to be kept updated as these things happen. It's not a case of it's been handled. We need to see how it's been handled